The Colosseum would be prepared for the battle between Issei, the Ghost Rider, and Ares, the god of war. As prominent gods, miners, nymphs, satyrs, and everything else in between all filed into the specially made arena, Issei was in the back preparing himself for the fight, much to Rias' chagrin. "Issei, you shouldn't have gotten involved in this." "I know. Couldn't really be helped. But was the bowl of mashed potatoes really necessary?" Thought it'd be funny." "I can't help but feel like this is all my fault," Asya would say, as both Rainier and Zenobia would comfort her, assuring her that none of this was Asya's fault. It was just that creepy Yami guy. Who was he and where did he even come from? Everyone would turn to Rias looking for an explanation, since she was the more scholared of the group. That was Yami, the god of dreams and nightmares. Although, if you ask anyone, he's really known as the god of nightmares, or sometimes he's even called Nightmare. "But what connection does he have to Zeus?" Gasper would ask. "Well, it's not something that's known publicly, but Yami is the first child of Hera and Zeus officially." "He's the first child?" Zenobia would ask. "But I always thought that it was Hephaestus or Ares." "Well, of course, it all depends on which mythology you're going with. That's the thing about history," Rias would say. "More often than not, it gets changed and diluted as time passes, before long until it simply becomes the truth. But no, Yami is officially the first child of Hera and Zeus. However, there was a falling out, a difference of opinion, you might say. Because of that, he's been all but excommunicated from the pantheons. He personally never wanted to be involved with any of the other gods, even though he would technically have a claim to having a seat with all of them." "So why is he back now?" Kiba would ask. "Isn't it obvious?" "It's because of Zeus," Rainier said. "It must be serious then. About Zeus, kicking the bucket. If someone as obscure as Yami would actually crawl out of the woodworks, he's not just coming by because he wants to say hello to the family. I think he has his eyes on the throne." Asya would feel a little more unease at this. This whole situation was only continuing to spiral out of control. If Zeus was in that serious of a condition, so much so that someone like Yami would come out of the woodworks, who else could be waiting in the wings? "When Zeus actually does pass," Kiba would say, "this could potentially lead to the fall of Olympus. Has Sir Zex said anything?" he asked. "No, my brother is keeping everything close to the vest, but we're keeping the situation monitored. This is going to be one of the rare times when a deity actually passes on permanently. Once that happens, everything is going to change. Zeus will officially move on to the other side of his life, and everything as we know it, it will change forever." "It doesn't make much of a difference right now, though," Issei said. "Right now, my fight's with Ares." "He's been looking to pick one since you got here," Akeno said. "And now I feel like you're only going to give him exactly what he wants." "I am," Issei said with a smile. "He's going to get everything he wants and more." And deep down, maybe Issei would too. As the group would all file in, everyone would take their seats. The Colosseum was spacious enough, allowing everyone room to relax and enjoy themselves. Azazel watching on worriedly. He had always been cautious around Ares. Even during the time of the Great Trifold War, Ares had been preoccupied with other things to get involved, but it wasn't uncommon for the god of war to essentially war hop, you might say. He was always looking for a fight, always a place where there was conflict. And you could say that Earth was the breeding ground of such conflict. Mankind had always felt the influence of the god of war. Even in the more peaceable of times, his influence wasn't held just to Earth and the Kami realm. No, his very existence was the proof of conflict, something that might not ever fade away. As Issei walked past him in the tunnel, Azazel would speak. Keep your guard up, Issei. He's not the god of war for nothing. He's a master tactician, a genius on the battlefield. He's not like Blackheart or anyone else you've ever faced before. He was literally born to fight. Yeah, and that's going to be why he'll lose. Huh? He was born to fight, right? That's all he's ever known. It's all he'll ever be. But think about how satisfying it'll be if he loses to someone who's nothing like him. I plan on hurting his pride. Well, you know what they say about pride and falls, Azazel said. Give him hell. You got it. As Issei made his way out into the arena, Ares would be standing across from him. He was already sporting his weapons and trophies of war, but he set them all to the side as he picked up only a spear. So, the famed god of war, and you're only bringing one weapon into battle? There's no point in us holding back, Ares said. You carry the spirit of vengeance inside of you. That is a mighty spirit. I wish to feel its full fury. What vengeance do you have against me? Issei's blood was beginning to boil now at the thought. The natural instinct of the spirit of vengeance, for the blood of the innocents and those who cried out in agony. And now he stood in front of the embodiment of everything he represented. Is this what you wanted? Issei said as his skin would begin to burn away, leaving only the flaming skull of the Ghost Rider. My power, it intensifies just being around you. I can feel it. I can smell it. The blood of all of those whom you've killed, or those who have been killed in your name. The wars that have been led in your name. Are they not glorious? Zeus and Hera, who sat on the prominent thrones, would raise the hourglass. It was filled with sand as they turned it upside down, accumulating for 5 minutes. Immediately, Issei would shoot out of his forearm the chain of 1,000 miles, already enveloped in its hellfire, as he wrapped it around Ares and pulled him close, piercing into his eyes with the penitent stare. You don't understand, you foolish god. Your wars have killed innocent people, victims. Their blood cries out for vengeance. And now I will usher forth all of that to you. With the penitent stare, Ares would feel firsthand all of the death, destruction, and chaos that came from the wars that he incited. It was as if he were being killed by his very nature. It was a cunning move. Azazel nodded approvingly, but was still concerned. How is this even possible? Rosvisa would say, Issei's actually got the god of war on his knees in true pain. Because war breeds a lot more than just conflict, Azazel said. When you fight wars, innocent people get killed. Innocent civilians, people that have nothing to do with it at all. Think about how many wars have ever been fought in all of mankind's history. Think about all the souls who were innocently taken in war. Because Ares is the god of war, because he represents war and claims it proudly, that means he bears all responsibility. Every time that an innocent group of people were exiled during the times of war, every time civilians were harmed, casualties that were caused as a result of war, all of that, all of the bloodshed, it falls at Ares' feet. And now, the spirit of vengeance inside of Issei, it's crying out, Zenobia said. It wants its pound of flesh. It doesn't just want a pound, Kiba said. It wants the whole thing. As Ares, the great god of war, reduced to pain and anguish, a smile would creep over his face as he looked back into the hollow eyes of the Ghost Rider, the penitent stare that caused him so much pain. But his body would regenerate. This would not kill him, nor would it break or dissuade him. Is this supposed to change me, spirit? You thought that you could reflect war onto me. You think I don't count the cost of war? No. Only those who are strong enough to survive. They are the ones who claim the future. To those who die at the wayside, I feel nothing. He pierced his spear right into the belly of the Ghost Rider. Issei would cry out in pain. That there is a sacred treasure, Hermes said, as he sat with the group, along with a young girl who was around their age, at least in looks. Hi, everyone. My name is Shalabal. Shalabal? Rhea said. Yes, this is Shalabal, my daughter, and the one who's going to inherit my sacred treasure one day. You call it a sacred treasure, Kiba said. Yes, what you would call sacred gears. Right. In some places, they're sacred tools, sacred gears. For us, we call them sacred treasures. Like my father's surfboard. It's called the Silver Chariot, dear. It looks like a surfboard. You know what they've been calling you, right? I really don't like that name. What? They call him the Silver Surfer. It's just that with a name like that, it makes it sound like I don't take my job as herald of the gods seriously. No one thinks that, Papa. We think you're really cool. But what about this spear, though? Rias would ask. That there's the Hydra spear. A spear that was left soaking in the blood of a Hydra for well over 1,000 years. Hydra blood is said to be the most poisonous of blood. Not only that, but it grants the user blood manipulation. The spear itself is said to be made from the blood of the Hydra that's been infused into the metal. Because of that, it can be bent and moved at will. But Issei, his power will protect him. The power of hellfire, it burns away at the poison, but it's still excruciating. The hellfire burns at the poison faster than it can kill him, but it does do severe damage. As Ares would push back at Issei, he lifted him up on the spear before throwing him across the arena and slamming him against the wall, before immediately rushing forward and kicking it in. Flames would erupt high from Issei's head as he screamed out. So, it seems like even the spirit of vengeance can feel pain. But tell me, do you feel fear? The fear of losing your life. Ares would dig the spear in deeper. Come on! I thought that you were all powerful. Everyone's been talking about how strong you are. Well, I want to see it. Show me what you can do. Fine then! Issei would run his body through the spear to get closer to Ares. As he used the chain, he wrapped it around Ares' neck before immediately shooting out hellfire to its highest degree, attempting to burn his head off. The god of war would yell out in pain as Issei would go full throttle with his hellfire before swinging him around and slamming him into the ground, creating a massive crater. He pulled back the chain and wrapped it around his fist as Ares got back to his feet. He called back for the spear of the Hydra. As it flew to his hands, he would stab at Issei once again, this time hitting him in the shoulder. But Issei would respond by using the Crimson Dagger as he buried the blade into the gut of Ares. Ugh! My turn, bitch! Eat hell! The dagger would be imbued with hell flame, causing Ares' stomach to be burnt within. As he twisted the dagger in deep, Ares would do the same. They were now both impaled, but with only one arm free, it started to become an all-out slugfest. Issei keeping the blade buried in Ares' stomach, burning away at his inner organs, only healed by the god's natural healing factor. With Issei's left shoulder stabbed in by the spear of the Hydra, his left arm feeling numb to the poison that was running through it, only being healed by the hell flames that burnt away at the negative effects. With one arm free, they would proceed to punch each other, giving it everything they had. So, this is how you want it? Up close and personal? Fine then! Ares would throw off his helmet as he gave Issei the headbutt from hell, causing the skull to crack, and hellfire would spew out of that crack, right into the eyes of Ares, burning them severely. I'm not done! Issei would let go of the dagger as he placed both hands on top of Ares' face. He was prepared to fire off as much hell flame as possible. He'd call on every single ember if it meant he could burn Ares alive. Ares would kick Issei back as he staggered to his feet. You think this is over? I'm just getting started. Same here. Before the fight could persist any further, a horn would yell out, calling for a conclusion to the exhibition. For Rias, she was as grateful that this fight had come to an end. For Ares, his body would start to heal on its own, although it was moving at a slower pace. Damn it. 5 more minutes, Ares would ask. That's enough, Zeus said. I'm not done. I said that's enough. Zeus's voice would bellow with authority, and even Ares knew not to push it any further, as he simply walked away, turning back to look at the spirit of vengeance. I'll be seeing you again, Hyodo. As Issei would collapse to the ground, Asya and the others would rush to his side. Without even thinking, her twilight healing, her sacred gear had already activated, spreading itself over his body as Issei returned back to normal. Thankfully, his hellfire had healed most of his injuries, but there were still some that were very severe. But twilight healing made it all feel like it was just a dream. For those that were watching on, they were impressed with Asia's healing abilities. Murmurs would begin to spread, wondering if with power like that could she even heal the wounds of a god. And Hira was watching intently as well. For Azazel, he was just glad that this was the end of it. Hopefully enough, things would be settled. Of course, they had no idea how long their stay would be, how long before Zeus finally came to an end. Later on that night, in the Hall of the Gods, a meeting would be held. But if it's even the smallest of chances, Athena would say. What for? Why would we even allow for the mortal to get involved? Words would be passed around, some in agreement, some indifferent, those who felt like it was pointless. But what if her power is a sacred treasure, like ours? Do you dare insinuate that a mere mortal would be blessed with a sacred treasure? She is a descendant of the daughters of Zeus. That cannot be disputed. The back and forths would continue until Hera would call for it to end. Enough! I love my husband. Your king, my king. Believe me, if there is any way that we can save his life, then I will not hesitate. But the choice should be hers. She does not even know herself what she is capable of. We don't want to put too much on the child, but it would not hurt to ask. We will reconvene with Argento and see if she will be willing to use this power on Zeus. Conspicuous in his absence, Hades. He was in the room of his brother, who lied in bed. You look like death. Is that supposed to be a compliment? Zeus would ask. You feel it, don't you? Unfortunately, I'm going to die. You are. I say, this probably makes you happy, does it not? What joy do I gain in losing a brother? All I have ever known was darkness since the day I was born. Trapped in the belly of my father, our father. You saved me from that fate. Contrary to what mortals will say, you have always been loyal to me, Hades. I would wish to give you the throne, but I know you would not take it. It's not my place to. But you can feel it, don't you? Their power is starting to rise. Yes. They will return. Do you believe that it's Yami that leads them? Most likely. And the children? How many of them? Don't do that to yourself, Zeus. Asking yourself such a question you don't want the answer to. You're right. I've tried for so long to maintain the balance of Olympus. But perhaps she was right. Has fate finally come for me to answer for my sins? A God answering for sins. The irony. Is there anything I can do for you? When the time comes, please, do not let Olympus fall into darkness. It's selfish of me to ask you, but I will not ask you as your king. I ask you as my brother. Hades would grab hold of Zeus's hand. I promise you, even if it cost me my life, I will not allow Olympus to fall. Its splendor will last for all eternity, and your names will be remembered in the hall of the gods till the end of time. Meanwhile, back at the hotel Olympus Heights, Azazel makes a call to Sir Zex. Well, it seems like things have been more lively than you expected. With the god of war, nothing can be unexpected. What about you? How are things looking? We're keeping everything monitored for now. When Zeus, should he pass, who knows what will happen to Olympus? It could fall into chaos. That's why I want you to get the children out of there as soon as possible. It would be unfortunate if it were to fall to civil war, but if that is the case, we do not need to involve ourselves in that affair. I agree. If Issei is not going to have any part in this, I'm going to have them back on the first train to Earth. Whatever happens to Olympus should happen. Have you made contact with Hercules? He's still preoccupied in the southern quadrant of the Kami realm, though I am hoping to get him briefed on things as soon as possible. The call would come to an end as Azazel would then call for Volley back on Earth. Have you made any headway with Ramatut? We've only just touched down into Egypt, Azazel. The tomb of Ramatut isn't like most other pharaohs, but once we make headway, we'll let you know once we're in. Good. Keep me informed. Meanwhile, in the halls of heaven, Irina Shido, the Red Dragon Empress, and proprietor of the Red Dragon, Dreg, the Welsh Dragon, would make her rounds as she finished her paperwork for Lord Michael. She wondered how Issei and the others were doing in Olympus. She would have loved to have gone with them, but sadly enough, she had other matters that she needed to attend to, though she was hoping that maybe she could visit them real quick before they left. Hopefully she could get some souvenirs. Hey Drake, what's the matter? Your spirit feels kinda disturbed. Can you feel it? Feel what? A slumbering power is starting to awaken. Slumbering power? What are you talking about? I don't know myself. It's hard to say. But there's something that feels ancient. Like something that hasn't existed for a long time is now slowly starting to come back to the surface. A power that could shake the heavens. A power that could strike the gods. You're kind of scaring me, Dreg. I don't mean to, Irina. I'm just saying, you should stay focused and alert. Are you worried about the others? A little. Something is happening A storm is brewing to the mountains of Olympus. This concludes High School DxD Spirit of Vengeance. What if Issei was the ghostwriter? Season 5, Part 4. As always, if you enjoyed today's video and everything else that we have to offer, then please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit that bell for post notifications so you can stay up to date on everything that is PowerCore Productions and Podcastings that's to come out now and in the future. And stay tuned tomorrow evening as we continue with High School DxD Spirit of Vengeance. What if Issei was the ghostwriter? Season 5, Part 5, the mid-Season 5 finale. But anyway, that's going to do it for the end of today's video. I'm Javon Harrington with PowerCore Productions and Podcastings, signing off, and I'll see you next time.